Comedian Greg Warren is touring around the country, and he has a brand new YouTube special out called The Champ, and we had a chance to sit down and chat.
Well, we always have an odd one in the crowd.
So it's kind of odd.
Decidedly odd.
Doesn't that strike you as a little bit odd?
No, it doesn't strike me as a little bit odd.
It's the Bob and Sheri Oddcast, with stuff we wouldn't, couldn't, or shouldn't do on the regular show. Now, here's the Oddcast.
And I've been filling out surveys for a long time, and I don't notice any improvement. I don't know if they're reading these surveys. Like, here is my theory on customer service surveys. They do not exist to improve customer service. They have them so they can figure out how bad can we make customer service before we start losing money. Like, it's just, they're trying to hone in, they're zeroing in, they're dialing in on that sweet spot. Like, boss, the survey results are in. It says our customer service is horrible. Okay, what are sales like? They're up slightly. I want you to make customer service worse. I want you to go down to one employee. We already have one employee. Make them stupid. I want you to make them very stupid.
That's comedian Greg Warren, and his newest comedy special is called The Champ. It's on YouTube right now. Greg is touring the country. Welcome back, Greg. How you doing?
Oh, great. It's good to talk to you guys again. Thanks for having me.
We're delighted to have you back. And I know that as a man who worked in consumer product goods for a long time before jumping into comedy and who spends a lot of his time on the road, who would know better than you just how bad and crappy things can get out there?
Yeah, it's funny. I spent a lot of time complaining on this special. And then at one point I was like, are these legitimate complaints? I did a whole thing on Walgreens. And by the way, I love Walgreens. Like, it's a part of my life. They're struggling a little bit with their business model at night. So I was like, maybe I went in a little too hard on Walgreens. And I went to one and I went in there like 10:30 and there was nobody there. There was no employees, nobody. I stood in the Walgreens. I was like, is anybody here? 7 minutes. 7 minutes later, some guy came out and he didn't say, I'm sorry. He looked at me like, how dare you come in here and try to give us money for stuff when we're open. So I was like, okay, maybe it's justified. Again, I don't want Walgreens to quit. I love them, but they're struggling a little bit. Yeah.
Greg. So I'm driving. I have a parent who lives about 2,000 miles away. So a couple months ago, my husband and I are driving out to visit, which means we're going to spend at least 2, maybe 3 nights at like interstate hotels.
Yeah.
So it's getting late, and my job as the navigator is to tell him where we're going to stop for the night. So I'm like, there's a sleep in up ahead here. It's in Arkansas. There's a sleep in up ahead here, and I'm gonna book it on booking.com. So I jump on my phone and I book the room at Sleep In. We arrive at Sleep In. There are 3 cars in the parking lot, Greg. There is 1 employee. So I go up to the desk and I said, checking in, and I give him the name. And he's like, I don't have any record of this. How did you book it? I said booking.com, and I show him the reservation number from booking.com. And he goes, yeah, it's not here. And I said, well, we reserved it and we've already paid for it. And, what do you think we should do? And he looked at me and he said, well, I mean, I don't know.
He doesn't know. He's a 19-year-old kid.
They found your stupid person there, Greg.
He doesn't know.
He said, that's what he goes. Well, I mean, I don't know. And I said, well, I'm going to call this phone number for booking.com, which I had no optimism would be answered by a human being, because it's like 11:40 p.m. on a Friday night, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and the guy goes, yeah, I mean, that's, I guess, what you should do, right? So I step aside.
Yeah.
And I call booking.com. Eventually, someone with a beautiful British accent answers. I explain the situation. And they said, do you mind if we put you on a brief hold? And so I'm like, no, that's okay. So they put me on a brief hold. 20 seconds later, the phone rings. And the man at the desk at the Sleep In picks up Sleep In, Fort Smith or whatever, wherever we were. And it's booking.com. And he goes, yeah, I'm looking at her. Yeah, that's what she says. Yeah, we have vacancies. Okay. Okay. So he gets off the phone and the booking.com agent comes back on my line and said, we've canceled your reservation with us. We've refunded it and they're going to book you in at our price. So not only did I eventually get to sleep at the Sleep Inn in Arkansas, which is a dreamy travel and leisure experience for the ages anyway. But the guy goes, so he said, booking.com called me as though I hadn't been standing there the whole time, Greg.
So I thought you were just talking to your mom. Yeah.
And I said, that's amazing. He goes, yeah, that's pretty good customer service. I wasn't expecting that. And I'm thinking, is this night ever going to end? Can I just please?
No.
We'll be back with more of comedian Greg Warren.
I've been all over the South, lived there all my life. And I just ran across this in Alabama. I had a nephew. We went to the weigh-in for his tournament, high school tournament fishing team. Now, Greg, are you familiar with this whole idea of the high school fishing team?
Yeah, I did quite a bit of extensive research on it for my current special. I want to ask a couple of questions here, Lamar. The weigh-in, Are they weighing your nephew or are they weighing the fish?
They're weighing the fish. All the teams line up and they come up there and the crowd. I mean, this is a big, huge crowd. All the parents, all the family there. And it's in this little dome-like situation. And they're cheering and they come in and they're weighing the fish. And I'm just like, I looked at my brother-in-law and I said, how long do you think this is going to last? He goes, oh, no, we're going to be here for a while. A lot of fish. Got a lot of fish we got to weigh.
It's a lot of drama, isn't it? I mean, it's this was new to me. I came across this and I posted a clip from the special regarding this. And I say in there, like, the state of Illinois has high school fishing, and about 500 people jumped on me. It's like, no, that's not the only state. We have it up here too. And apparently it's these.
It's a thing. It's a thing.
It is a thing. And when again, Lamar and I are not talking about some kids go out fishing with other kids from the same school in the fishing club. They compete against other schools in fishing in high school. It's like, we're going to beat you guys on Friday night in bass, which they got jerseys and everything. They got jerseys and sponsors. Sponsors.
Crazy.
And my question was, they have to have a coach, right? There has to be somebody in charge.
I want that job.
Which means, I grew up, my father was a coach. I know what coaches are like. They probably are the same in fishing. You boys embarrassed yourselves out there on that lake today. Hayes got his hook caught in a tree. Jansen pulled a shoe out of the lake. And Martin, you couldn't catch a fish in the seafood department of the grocery store. All right, hands in. Fish on 3. And then if there's a high school fishing coach, there's an assistant high school fishing coach, I'm sure, right? Guys, we need to get those tackle box inspected. We're going to have tackle box inspection at 9 a.m. And you better have all your hooks and you better have all your lures, or you're not going to get on that school bus. I can tell you that right now. But Bobby Henderson, I found a half of a ham sandwich in their tackle box. That's not how a fisherman treats his equipment, son. You think Babe Winkleman has a half of a ham sandwich in his tackle box? You think Bill Dance has any kind of sandwich in his tackle box? And then, I would imagine the parents are involved, and it's a high school sport. There's got to be cheerleaders, right?
Sure, absolutely, yeah.
Catfish, crappie, smallmouth bass. Your outboard motor's out of gas. Shut up, Charlene. You're scaring the fish.
Greg, I actually met a kid who had a full college scholarship for fishing.
Oh yeah, I learned about that too.
I didn't even know. Yeah, I didn't even know that was a thing you could get a scholarship in.
Yes, yeah, they're somewhere a dad is like, sit down, son. Listen, they cut my hours at the mill. I can't afford to send you to college. If you want to make it out of this town, you're going to have to fish your way out.
I went
did-
to such a small high school in a city, in a big like urban environment. We didn't have anything that resembled a fishing team, a fishing boat, a fishing pond. But on that, based on what I see on the Outdoor Channel, no, it's a very expensive sport, I think, to get into this bass fishing.
Yeah.
But like, don't these guys make big bucks yanking fish out of the rivers and lakes? Don't they do that? Isn't that crazy lucrative?
The pros do. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess it's a small group of people that make a lot of money fishing, but maybe I'm wrong about that. I think what you're
Sort of like-
doing, Sherry, I don't want to be you guys reach a lot of people. I don't want to be irresponsible and tell a bunch of kids that they should count on making a lot of money fishing. It's like the NBA. There's only a few that make it to that level. You got to keep your grades up, because the chances of you being one of those, 50 guys that are making millions fishing, it's just, I don't know.
It's so hard as a parent, because you hate to rain on their little dreams. But
I know you
Jeremia,
exactly.
You're
Yeah,
just
you gotta
not going to do it.
encourage
You're
'em.
just not going to. Yeah, you're just not going to strike it rich fishing for bass competitively.
Yeah. My dad didn't have a problem telling me I wasn't going to make any money telling jokes. That's for sure. By the way,
Do you still have your dad? Did he ever get to
Yeah.
see you? Did he ever get to see you make a living telling jokes?
No, he's still alive. He was at the special when we taped it.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And
Now,
I thought it was very
was
good.
his-
And a lot of people feel like it's a good special. I'm biased, but I did walk by my dad talking to my friend Matt Holland right after the taping, and I heard him say something like, "It was good. I like the peanut butter one better, but it was good." I also heard him. The special came out, and it's on YouTube. It's on Nate Bargatze's YouTube channel. And you're always nervous those first couple days. Like, did everything get up and get right? And is it there? And people were watching it. And we were getting comments. And my dad called me and goes, "Well, it's not on YouTube." I was like, I think it is, Dad. I'm pretty sure I saw it this morning. He goes, "It's not there. I checked. Jill checked too. You're gonna you better call somebody. Not there." He was wrong, guys.
What mistake was he making, I wonder?
God only knows. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, here's the thing. My father, for several years, was a computer programmer. You would think that he would be able to find a YouTube video. I think eventually he did find it. I don't know. Who knows what he was looking for?
Well,
I
now,
try to
what
learn.
did your dad say when you got ready to leave the peanut butter selling deal to be a comedian? What was his thought?
Well, Lamar, I can't say a lot of those words on your radio program, but he thought I was an
I
idiot.
bet.
I was making a
Yeah.
lot of money with Procter and Gamble, and he was he just at one point he told me I was 33 at the time, and he told me he forbade it. He forbid it. He said said no. He goes, "You go get your job back." I was like, I wasn't really asking here, Dad. I'm 33, basically. And he came around. My dad is opinionated, but very, very supportive always. So my mom she was right away supportive of it. So
I love that, like, you're a grown man living on your own. You're out there in the world, and your dad's like, "No, this is not happening." I forbid
exactly,
you."
Sherry. I wasn't living in his house. I had been out of college and gainfully employed for 10 years, and he said no. You said no, and then and I
What was your
told him I was gonna-
what was your punishment? Was he going to take your car keys? Like, what?
I didn't want exactly. It's my car. It's my car. You can't have it. You can't have it. I bought it. It was my car keys. I didn't want to get grounded. I didn't stick around for too long that afternoon. But he just and then he had a horse at the time, and he just left and went and rode his horse. I think he was probably screaming obscenities in the woods on his horse about how dumb his eldest son was.
Because you had from your dad's perspective, you had like a really good corporate job, right? You were working for
I did.
P&G, right?
Yeah.
Procter and Gamble. That is
Yeah.
from like where your dad, like I don't know how your dad came up in the world or what his fight and struggles were, but from where your dad this is what it sits, this is what it looks like. My son has somehow persuaded someone to give him a really good job.
Yes.
And this Stunad just wants to quit and tell jokes.
Yes, this is exactly.
Why, God?
Yeah.
Why? Why, God?
Yeah. I was, I had stock options. I was making a bunch of money, and I just was bored. And he didn't see it that way.
Did he tell
I'm not
you?
gonna lie.
Is that so, Greg? Only boring people are bored. Maybe get a hobby. Don't quit your job.
That
I mean,
man,
did you get
you know
that
how many
whole-
people told me that, Sherry? Like, they get a hobby. This guy, Freddie DeMarco, he was like my mentor in comedy. He owned the comedy club that I worked at in college. And when I told him I was, no, Craig, what are you doing? He was this Italian guy. He's like, no, Craig, no. He goes, why don't you just learn to play golf? You got to start learning to play golf. I'm like, I don't really want to play golf. You need to play golf. I go, I'm bored, Freddie. Yeah, you won't be when you play golf. I don't think golf is the... Yeah.
I have tried, Greg, to learn from listening to other people's stories about terribly demotivating, demoralizing things their parents have said to them so that I don't make these mistakes with my own children.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes as a parent, you love them so much and you're worried and you're scared for them and you want them to be safe and okay,
Yeah.
even if that
Yeah.
means, trimming their tail feathers just a little bit. Right. And I didn't want to do that to my kids because I can remember one time telling my mom, this was some years ago, I'm like, Mom, the show got nominated for the biggest award in radio. We're up against Rush Limbaugh and like, I don't know who we were up against that time, Dick Clark, all the greats in radio, right? And my mom, and we're so excited. It's such a big deal. And my mom goes, oh, honey, you cannot expect to win against those people. Now, Greg, as fate would have it, the woman was absolutely correct. She could not have been more accurate, right?
You got beat by Dick Clark, got the Marconi that year.
Or Rush or one of them, right?
Yeah.
And when I told my mom later, she's like, well, honey, did your show win your little prize? No, Mom, Rush Limbaugh won. And she goes, well, honey, you had to expect that. So now when my kids say something really unhinged to me, I take a pause.
Good for
and
you.
I process, boy, that sounds unhinged and like a really whack plan. But I'm like, well, you never know, right? So it's got to happen for somebody because you don't want to be that rain cloud.
Yeah, it's got, I'm not a parent, so, but it's got to be a very delicate balance there. And I do want to say, like, both my parents were incredibly supportive, in the comedy thing. My dad was very, very supportive. It just took him a while to adjust.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because you had a job with benefits and dental insurance. And for where your mom and dad sit.
Yeah. My mom was a writer, so she was kind of like, yeah, do that. That sounds way better than selling peanut butter. Like my mom was immediately on my side.
Yeah, because she was a creative. But like I have a friend whose ex-husband was a big executive in your former company. And that guy like retired way young and built a house in the mountains and spends his days jet skiing on a lake. And I'm over here going, might be something to those Clorox wipes. I don't know. It appears to be a way to really make a living. So
What are you trying to do to me, Sherry? You trying to make me regret this? Come on. I like jet skis. What is this? I'm going to be on the road till I drop. I mean, come on.
I'm right there with you, Greg. This guy's life is so amazing that his ex is like, I should have found a way to endure it. But Greg, you have to follow. You get this one life, right? You have to follow your heart and your dreams. You can't be miserable for your one life.
No, it was a hard decision because I didn't hate it. Like I liked, my life was fine. I just was getting bored. And I was pretty sure that this was going to be like a 2-year vacation. And then I was going to go back to selling some consumer product, maybe with a different peanut butter company or something. So, even today, I still try to keep my eye on the shelves when I'm in the grocery store, just in case. I've had a good run. It's been 25 years and things are going great, but I'm like, maybe I should just still understand what's going on the shelves.
You can't break it. Plus, you can impress people with your knowledge of, hey, do you know why this is on the end cap? I bet the women just flock to that, don't they?
You would think, Sheri. I mean, I have talked about that in singles bars for years, and a lot of times, they just turn around. I don't understand. Maybe I'm not sure. You would think, because I know a lot. You have
so much to offer. Oh yeah,
so much to offer. I mean, I saw this girl the other night at a bar, and I was like, "Did you know?" That was my opening line. I said, "Did you know that creamy outsells crunchy 4-1?" And she wasn't interested. I don't know.
That's shocking.
It is shocking.
I'm amazed that isn't working better for you than it is.
Yeah,
I'm still thinking about 4-1, creamy over crunchy 4-1.
Lamar. No, I need to be honest. Those are late 90s numbers. I don't have access to the data anymore. I don't think it's shifted that much, especially I can see who's getting the most shelf space, So I think it's probably that way, but it's expensive to buy that data.
You were in the peanut butter game back when there wasn't 42 different kinds of the same peanut butter.
And all the organics,
all the organics and all that stuff.
You were back when it was between Choosy Mothers, Peter Pan, and Jif, right?
Peter Pan, Jif, and Skippy, and
Skippy.
These all these other. You mentioned the organic. I mean, come on. It's got an inch of oil on top of it.
You got to put in like an upper body workout. Crunchy peanut butter has its place, but I've always thought it was kind of psychotic to want it on a sandwich because you've got your soft bread, you've got your jam, and then you've got little rocking woody nuggets. Like that's a texture thing for me. Like what kind of psychotic person chooses that? Lamar, are you a crunchy peanut butter guy?
I keep a jar. That's what I eat out of the jar with a spoon.
Yeah,
there you go.
Can I
tell you put it on bread?
Can I tell you what AI tells me? AI tells me 80% of the peanut butter sold in the U.S. is creamy, only 17% being crunchy. I'm not sure about that other 3%. So
that's a good question.
They're only accounting for 97%. So.
And I gotta say, sawing his own leg off with a plastic knife. He's like, "Oh my God, I thought I escaped this, and now we're talking about it again."
No, I'm happy to talk about. I'm a little insulted that after me, a guy who spent 10 years in the business gives you a nice, fun factoid, and you got to go check me out on AI.
Wait a second now. In my defense,
I mean, I'm an authority on this subject, and you're over there fact checking me.
You're an authority, kind of an old school authority. I'm trying to get the latest information on this just to see what it is. You said I'm not sure now, so I went, well, I'm here to help you. I
hope your next interview with AI makes your listeners real happy.
I wasn't being oppositional. I was being helpful.
I'm not going to come on this radio show and spout stuff that's
and be fact checked.
True. Yes.
You said those were late 90s numbers, and I went, well, wonder what it is today. It's curiosity.
What do you think AI is getting? You think AI is getting the IRI data? You know how expensive that is? If I do make it bigger in this business, if this special is a wild success, I'm going to take a little bit of that money and I'm going to buy the IRI data just so I can keep current.
You know that AI, they're just making shit up. You know that, right? They just pulled that out of their
Exactly. Yeah. But your crack staff back there is that's. I gave my heart and soul to that business,
Hey, we take our responsibility as broadcasters very seriously around here, Mr. Greg Warren.
I know you do.
We're not going to give out incorrect creamy versus crunchy stats on this show. So once again, the name of the special is The Champ. And our guest is comedian Greg Warren. We'll post some links up at BOBANDSHERI.com. Greg, we're always happy to have you swing by when you're around.
You're touring around the country. How can people get information about that?
GregWarrenComedy.com. That would be great.
You have quite the schedule ahead of you, buddy. You are in some
Yeah.
really big places. We're so excited for you.
You guys are the best, man. I enjoy talking
Good
to
luck. Good luck.
The Champ on YouTube, GregWarrenComedy.com. Our website is BOBANDSHERI.com. And hey, check out our other podcast, Talking Lamar, which drops every Friday afternoon with the People's Movie Critic, and True Weird Stuff, the podcast for the curious and morbid and the morbidly curious. New episodes every Friday. We'll see you next week.